Thank you. Good
Thank
morning,
you.
everyone. Thank you, Ross, for being
Pleasure.
here today. That was quite a way to start the morning with all that action on the screen.
I always hate to have to follow that, you know?
So you're part of all of this. What's the most sort of Hollywood thing about your life, or what was your most recent sort of Hollywood experience?
Well, I have 3 kids. That's kind of Hollywood enough for the most part. And I will say, as you know, someone in the HR field, in entertainment, everyone thinks it's anything different than just pure HR. Unfortunately, it's not. So most of the time is in a corporate building, servicing our executives and servicing our employees. But I was overseas in Hong Kong for 10 years of my career when I was on the business side, and I ran Celestial Pictures, which is the film studio with the largest library of Chinese films, and I produced 2 movies, or executive produced 2 movies, The Kingdom and Control, and that was gave me an appreciation of how difficult it is to make a movie and make a movie profitable. So that was pretty exciting, putting that together.
So since you mentioned this is exactly what I wanted to ask you about first, you have a strong background in operations as well as now you work in HR, and I know you still play both roles to some degree, but can you share sort of how your operational experience affects how you manage people and teams and lead HR, and also the other way around, what your HR work
Sure.
informs?
I think one of the reasons why I was hired by John Feldheimer, who's my boss at Lionsgate, was the business background. So I'd spent probably about half my career on the business side, half my career on the HR side. Both, were invaluable. On the operations side, I would say it's business acumen. I make sure that every day I distribute the Wall Street Journal to my staff. After the board meetings, we're publicly listed companies, so we have board meetings every quarter. I take my entire team through the board deck, management comments, and so that's bringing the sort of business side into HR. And then the HR side is people, right? It's how to appreciate, it's how to honor people, honor the work that they do every single day, and the effort that they give. So it's a combination of both of those things.
What's how would you describe the culture at Lionsgate, and what's unique about it? What the ways that you operate the company that also help foster innovation?
Yeah, when I joined Lionsgate, we had 300 to 400 employees. We're now at 1,400.
Wow.
We're going to be spinning Stars off by the end of the year.
Right. Stars being the cable network. Just
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And so what's really important to my boss, the CEO, is hand selecting the leadership team. So we have a leadership team that have worked with each other for many years, that are heavily compensated through equity. And so we're all pulling in the same direction. You see a higher level of collaboration and executives working across business units and across divisions than you would typically see in a Hollywood studio. And I think that helps foster just intense collaboration and innovation. I think Lionsgate isn't afraid to take chances, and sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not, but we're calculated risk takers, and we like to say that where other studios zig, we zag.
Are there areas, especially in terms of managing teams, are there areas where you have where you can see room for improvement, things that you're trying to build in the HR arena?
Even though we're a small studio, we offer a full slate of benefits. I think our benefits program, in fact, may be the best in the entertainment industry. I think communicating is probably, like most of the folks out here now, communicating the value of benefits to employees is always a challenge. The focus is on cash compensation and equity. But as I said, we have great benefits. We have full support for employees across the typical things. And We also try to do things a little bit different. Education, financial education for more junior employees is important, and so we're always looking to up our game and be innovative. And I think, and we communicate. So we communicate to employees monthly through newsletters, and more locally, we have offices in Santa Monica and in the Denver area, and they have newsletters coming from HR that speak to things that are happening in the local community. So I think in times like now, which is challenging for the entertainment industry, amping up the communication and increasing transparency is important.
Do you have well, you just mentioned this, every industry is being, going through a lot of layoffs and economic challenges. Here in Hollywood specifically, the biggest companies are really consolidating. There's a lot of M&A, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety in the industry. So how do you manage and encourage teams and employees during these kinds of really challenging periods, which I'm sure everyone is going through something similar, even though we have our very specific Hollywood creative community that we work with? I
don't know that Hollywood is necessarily unique in that vantage point, but what we do well, I would say, is that the CEO meets with every single employee in the company at least once a year and holds coffee chats on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. We've increased our ownership of 3 Arts, which is our talent management company, and we had those folks come over and give a presentation of what they're doing in order to make sure that their senior leadership team and our senior leadership team would see opportunities to collaborate. But what we've been doing over the last few months is just amping up communication. I think keeping employees in the dark and not communicating would lead to increased anxiety. We have Talkspace and other programs. We spend a lot of time and money and effort on mental health initiatives, which are really important. It is a challenging time, and we want to make sure that employees have benefits and the opportunity to seek help if they need it. But I think communication is paramount, and from the top down, we've been amping up our communication, trying to be as transparent as possible, treat our employees as adults, I think is really important, respecting them, that they need to understand the state of the business, and when we're doing well, have them share in that and make sure they know that, and when the industry or the organization is challenged, make sure that they know that as well. Many of them, if not most of them, are shareholders, and I would say we owe that to them.
Right. I can just say for myself, coming up as a manager, people used to ask me my leadership style, and I would say, my leadership style is do your job. And it's like, that is not sufficient in 2024. People really need to be met where they are and be communicated with and treated as adults and all the things that you said. Do you have a philosophy or kind of guiding mantra for managing people?
Yeah, I picked this up downstairs, compassionate accountability. Because I was thinking of the word compassionate. I try to honor the work and the effort that my staff puts in. They give up 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, most of the year. And so that's a lot of people's time in life, and I want them to have fun. I want them to enjoy, learn, and grow both personally and professionally. And I try to instill that in the department, and hopefully they're business partners, and through the programs that we have, we're communicating and living that through HR, connecting to the rest of the organization.
Can I ask, what's the current hybrid in the office? What's the current sort of status for your workforce right now?
We're currently, we're shifting as of January 1st. January 1st will be 5 days a week for EVP and above.
Okay.
Then the rest of the organization will be at 4 days a week. On Fridays, we allow employees with supervisor approval to basically take the rest of the day off after 1 o'clock if they're able to.
Right, okay.
So some are kind of permanent, some are Fridays if business will allow it.
Right. There's a lot of work on weekends in Hollywood because of premieres and all these events, and so much takes place in the industry through really 7 days a week. So, another thing that a lot of workers, are seeing opportunities, but also challenges and fears around is generative AI. So, can you talk about, obviously, in Hollywood, the guilds and the unions are working out how that's going to operate creatively in the field, but in terms of people management and your HR capacities, what are you able to use, and how are you able to also get employees comfortable with this becoming part of the operation?
Yeah, like I would say, like others here today, we're sort of dipping our toes in. We use Success Factors as our people management system, and they have something called Joule that we're in the process of activating. I think the goal is not to replace people with AI and not replace HR people with AI, but use it to supplement the work that's being done, to put more tools in the hands of the employees. So simple questions like, where do I find this or where do I find that? They're able to go to Success Factors, to using AI technology as a lever to be able to answer those questions themselves, so that the HR business partners and our specialists can focus on being consultants to the business. They can focus on being strategists to the business, and help employees with more sort of higher end issues and problems, rather than dealing with routine requests for information. So that's at least at this stage what we are looking at doing. We're probably I actually had a meeting yesterday with my head of HRIS, and we're about 12 to 15 months away from implementation.
Okay. You and your team shared some great stats with me. Well, first, we've been talking about this. DEI efforts in Hollywood broadly, that in about a year ago, many of the big companies saw the exit of the top DEI officers that they had in the organization. And it was really a time of more discussion of these issues and what's the best way to implement inclusion in these kinds of workplaces. Still a very open question in this industry, but your team shared with me, you guys are still all in. And I know they told me in the last year, 60% of new hires are women, 30% from historically underrepresented groups, 75% of your summer interns this year were from underrepresented groups. You told me also, and I really want to hear more about this, I want to hear about your kind of approach to this and why it is important for the business, but specifically this, the Lionsgate production accounting program I'd love to hear about, because I think that's really starting before employment to create a pipeline. So.
Yeah, we're not going backwards.
Yeah.
I just want to state, we're not going backwards. We're not stopping the work that we've started on in DI. It's important to our employees. I think it's one of the things that distinguishes us. We don't, except for this event, which I was invited to, we don't spend a lot of time talking about our efforts in the press. I'd rather, make them real and have employees see it. One of the stats I shared with you, that 50% of moviegoers are people of color, 36% Hispanic, 15% Black. So, there's two aspects to this. One is the business aspect of, it makes tremendous sense to have content that is appealing to a diverse audience be made by a diverse audience, right? I'm going to be severely challenged speaking to a non-white audience from a creative point of view if I don't have that sort of cultural background. So there's a tremendous amount of business sense to not only continue to tell stories and to have talent in front and behind the camera, and certainly within the organization that's diverse. And it's, we feel, obviously, and I personally feel it's a moral imperative. And so we have our intern programs, have not only for our organization, but for the rest of the community, have really trained up a number of outstanding young folks from the historically Black colleges. And We partner with the Emma Bowen Foundation. We continue to do that work. We will not stop doing that work. We've started a production accounting program and a partnership with the Cal State system. And so there's a shortage of production accountants. Who knew, right? But there's a shortage of, exactly, emphasis. There's a shortage of production accountants in our industry, and those are extremely well-paying jobs. They're like 50, 60, 70, up to $200,000 a year. And so rather than go to the major universities, UCLAs, USCs, there's nothing wrong with those. We realized that the people that could benefit the most and that would likely, they're not only communities, but families, but also that they would stick it out and go and would be great candidates are from the lesser known universities, lesser known schools like the Cal State system. And so we're going to be teaching production accounting courses at Cal State University. We'll be doing a bit of teaching, teachers in the accounting programs. And we started this last summer, very small, only a handful of students, but we're partnering with Cal State University to expand the program. And it's going to be great for these young people to have this education background and career. And it'll be great for the industry because it will eventually solve the tremendous shortage of getting production accountants. A production accountant is someone that works on a movie or TV show and makes sure that the budget is maintained. As you, I'm sure, have read, a lot of movies are over budget or TV shows over budget. It's a production accountant's responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen and work with the directors and producers and the production companies to make sure that everyone gets paid and that shows stay on target. And perennially, there's been a shortage, and this is how we, want to tackle this problem.
And it is, another thing that makes this industry unique, I would say, I've referenced this, there are a lot of different unions and guilds with all their own rules, and they're very powerful, as they should be, and it works great in a creative industry, but it makes for extremely complex accounting with how overtime and things like that. So it really is a specialization that I would say won't be replaced, for example, by AI anytime soon. So last thing I want to ask about the role of ERGs at the company and sort of how you empower them and what the contribution has been as well to the business from those groups.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You have 9 ERGs in total.
We have 9 ERGs. We started them up, I would say, 8 years ago. So we initially looked at them as great groups and organizations within the company that HR funded. So we'd give them a budget at the beginning of the year, and they would go off and meet and discuss issues and have events that are important to them. What happened, interestingly, is we have something called fast channels, where we take library content and we create a channel from that, and it runs 24 hours a day. We put it on a platform, and there's advertising revenue, and we split it with the platform. And there was a desire, given our library is very strong in Black content, to do in a fast channel partnership with someone. And so we went to Black, which is our Black ERG, Employee Resource Group, and they actually worked on it as a separate project and came up with the idea of partnering with Ebony, the Ebony magazine, but with the Ebony organization. And so I think we're the only organization with a fast channel just completely focused on Black content, but that didn't come from leadership. That didn't come from the business. That actually came from the Employee Resource Group, which is really cool. They were rewarded. It was something which was applauded and recognized across the whole organization and changed the way that the company views these employee resource groups. And we have 600 employees in our employee resource groups out of, as I said, 1,400,
yeah.
which is astounding. And it's something that the CEO reports at every board meeting and their activities. So it's a cool way of getting employees involved in the business, having them feel connected to the business and contribute to the business, and for junior people to be recognized. And so it's just working fantastically.
Another kind of equity.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ross.
Oh,
Thank
fun.
you all. Have a great day.
Thank
Glad
you.
to kick it off with you.